So you already know why HCI. So HCI provides, but in DAS we have a problem of shared storage. In SAN we have a problem of data local. DAS address the DAS advantage of DAS is data local. Advantage of SAN is shared storage. But still, there is a problem, right, with these two technologies. So there is a third technology which address this problem, or which takes the advantage of both the DAS and SAN. It offers data local. It offers shared storage. How? With the help of the intelligent software. And the cost wise, in cost there are two statements: capital expenditure and operational expenditure. So capital expenditure is something like you invest a lot in the initial stage on procurement of devices and all. Like if you want to keep couple of servers, networks, storage switches, and sandboxes, then you need a huge place. And then power consumption for each and every device. Then you need a separate team for each and every component. So cost-wise, HCA is a simplified solution, and at the same time, operational expenditure is also. It reduces your your pain of managing your infrastructure. Okay. Then in on flash, everything would be like SSD. In hybrid, you get combination of SSD and hard disk. Okay. We also see why we require SSD, because SSD is required for CVM to install, and then we also SSD also will be also used for cache memory. Okay. Um, then do you can you remember why uh, we require, why we need to uh, have one or two SSD? Any guess?
It is to install the CVM, right?
Yeah. And does it support, on general, does Nutanix support RAID?
No, it will not support RAID, but it will support that software RAID which is on Linux, right?
Exactly. Okay. So if RAID is not used, then how Nutanix protects the data?
With that RF feature.
Yeah. So how many, what are the different levels supported by Nutanix?
Very different.
Different numbers of for replication.
RF2
2,
and
3.
RF3.
RF.
Oh, great. Yeah. And what is the requirement for RF2? How many nodes you require?
3 nodes. 3 nodes for
And
RF3 and 2 nodes for RF3 and three RF required 5 nodes.
can you come again?
RF2 required 3 nodes
Okay.
and RF3 required 5 nodes.
Okay, great. Got it. Yeah. Okay. And where hypervisor gets installed in the hardware? It can be ESXi, or it can be your
M.2.
AHV or
M.
M.2.
M.2. Yeah, M.2 was set it up. Right. Okay. And what is CVM?
Control virtual machine. It's like
Okay,
a heart.
great. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, it's all good. So now I just give a small explanation of server architecture one more time. Then we get into the foundation side. Okay. So generally, you buy server. Okay. And these servers will have one or two SSD. Okay. It is must, and these are optional. It can have hard disk or SSD. Okay, same apply to all the servers. And don't mix hybrid and all flash servers. Okay. Question: it is actually possible, but you will have performance problem. Okay. So on this top of this, we have CVM. And you know what is this, right? It is a controller virtual machine. Okay. Uh, then in the hardware side, we have something called M.2. Okay, so this is overall. I mean, if you take a simple setup, we have a minimum requirement of 3 nodes because RF2 is the RF2 is supported as minimum, and then for that we need a minimum of 3 servers. Okay, so now if you take a server, okay, if you take a server, any server, you have something called IPMI. Then you have something called couple of interfaces. Okay, it can be 1/1 and 1/2. Okay, so then there is something called IPMI, or you can say SIMC if you use Cisco C series server. Okay, then if you have HP server, you say ILO. If you have Dell server, you say ID rack. Okay, so only the names are different, but the concept is actually same. If you have come across different hardware, then you might have heard any one of this name. Okay, IPMI, it is mostly for the NX and Supermicro. Okay, SIMC for Cisco, ILO for HP, and ID rack for Dell. Okay, and we also have different hardwares like Fujitsu, Lenovo, IBM. So I mean, mostly it will be the name of that will be IPMI, and maybe they might use different. Okay, so where is this IPMI? It is an interface. Okay, and this has some application that gets stored on the motherboard. Okay, there is a chip called BMC. This BMC has that application, and it is connected to this interface called IPMI. Okay, and this is your server. Okay, and this IPMI, it is actually out of band. Okay, out of band, and this is your data plane. Okay, these two interfaces. Mostly this IPMI comes 1 GB, and this data plane can be 1 GB, 10 GB, and then 100 gig. Okay, and it is an option like different, depends upon the interface you choose. It actually gets changed. Okay, so now why we are talking about this, because we are going to talk about foundation. Okay, so the word itself you can find it. So foundation is the first stage. You are putting a foundation for your NUTANIX cluster. Okay, so you have to consider all this. The very first requirement, you have to connect this IPMI interface to a switch. Okay, then you have two interfaces, right? These two interfaces connected to a separate switch for your data traffic. Okay, in the data center, there is a separate switch for out of band where all your management interfaces are connected to that switch. Okay, so if you have 10 servers and each server has one IPMI interface, and that gets connected to the out of band switch. Okay, and there are these two data interfaces. This it is a separate connectivity, but this is the major critical part of your cluster. Okay, critical area, because this is where your guest VM traffic, user VM traffic, all that travel. Okay, and this IPMI, it is only for the management, and that's why I mean it has one interfaces. And if you go to some Cisco servers like Cisco C series server, you get dual interfaces for SIMC. Okay, so they say SIMC, but here, since we are talking about Supermicro NX based servers, we say this is the IPMI interface, and that IPMI interface gets connected to a switch. Okay, this is for one server. What happens if I have multiple server? Okay, if I have multiple server, then server 1. Okay, then I have server 2, then I have something called server 3. and every server there is an interface for IPMI. Okay, and then you have a switch for out of band switch. Okay, all this interfaces has to be connected to this switch. Okay, this is on the very first stage. Okay, you buy server, that server comes to your data center. Okay, do the rack and stack. Okay, power on, and meanwhile do the cabling. Okay, so cabling, then power on. Okay, so very first stage, and I said about the data plane, right? That is separate connectivity. Okay, and you have a separate switch. All this gets connected to this. Okay, because since you have dual interface, you might have another switch. Okay, switch 1 and switch 2. Okay, okay, and the second interface go to second switch. Okay, so this is a very basic setup, but for the foundation, okay, our concentration should be on the IPMI. Okay, we have to only look into the IPMI side. Okay, you buy server, connect the ask your customer, or if you are in the place, ask get your servers connected to the out of band switch. Okay, so then there is a requirement from the IPs. Okay, IPs. Any guess how many IPs you require per node? Anybody?
So per server at the two IPs.
Two IPs. That's
No
what I
per
say.
server.
Per
No.
server, two
Four,
IPs. Two,
Failover.
four, then any other option? And
two
those
IPs,
who say, okay, why do we
one
need two
server,
IPs?
one for ILO or second for CVM.
Okay, and who said four? Can you please let me know why do we need four? Any guess? Why do you need four? Okay, that's fine. See, overall, you require three IPs. Okay. Yes. Any question?
No, you are telling anyway. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So three IPs. Why? One is for IPMI, or we say ILO or SIMC. Okay. The second IP. Okay. For your hypervisor. Okay. So it is your ESXi, Hyper-V, or your AHV. Okay. And third one, you need one IP for your CVM. Okay. This is for one node. Okay. So if I have three nodes, okay, so I require 3 into 3, I require totally 9 IPs. This is for the basic setup. Okay, and if this 3 are part of one cluster. Okay, so you have 3 node cluster. Okay, okay, server 1, server 2, and server 3. So for this cluster, there is a IP called cluster IP. Okay, so 9 IPs plus 1 IP for cluster. Okay, we will see why do we need this one IP. Okay, we will see that. Then there is one more IP for data services. Okay, data services like if you have file server, okay, then block service, then you might need this data. But at basic for, I mean, these two are actually optional. Okay, but this 9 IPs are mandatory. Okay, so I mean, but still, we recommend to have this IP. We will discuss this later. Why we recommend this IP? So total for one cluster, if you have 3 nodes, you have to multiply by 3. So every server requires 3. Then add one IP for cluster IP. Okay, so that how you have to plan your IPs. Okay, so then coming to the best practice, okay, how I can plan my IP address assignment. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, how you can plan. So as I mentioned that IPMI, it gets connected to a different switch called OOB switch. Okay, then you have called data plane where your hypervisor and CVM comes. Okay, so keep this as one subnet, keep this in one subnet and keep these two in another subnet. Okay, so this is one subnet. So totally 1 plus 1, you require 2 subnets. Okay, why do we have 2 subnet? Why don't I take one subnet? Okay, you might have questioned that is it really necessary to take 2 subnets, or I can go proceed with one subnet? That's option to you. Okay, optional and option to you. You can take one subnet also, but the problem is if you have to add more security to keep the uh, your environment more secure, we strongly recommend you to keep IPMI in different subnet and then data plane in a different subnet. Okay, so every server for IPMI you require one IP. Okay, so totally if you have 3 nodes, then you require 3 IPs, but you also need to consider your future requirement, because if you go and do expand cluster and maybe after a year or two, if you have a plan to add more servers, then it is always good to reserve some IPs. So we actually recommend to have 50 percentage of IPs to be reserved. Okay, so if you have 3, but generally, I mean, it shouldn't be 3 in a production. So minimum 10 plus clusters probably customer might go. Okay, but it is a different case, but there is still chances that customer can take 3 plus nodes. In that cases, you have to discuss with your team to know about your future requirement, and then accordingly you can reserve your IPs for this IPMI. Okay, so this IPMI and the data plane, you go to your network team and ask them for 2 subnets, and they ask about your requirement, how many IPs you required per subnet. Okay, so currently you require 3 IPs because you are going with 3 node cluster, but you know that in future it may go to 15 or 20. So then probably we ask you to keep 40 or 50 IPs reserved. So you can just tell them that, hey, overall I require 50 IPs in the IPMI subnet. Then they give you a subnet which has 50 valid host IPs. Okay. Then there is something called data plane. Here, for one server, you need 2, okay, 2 IP per server, okay, and additionally 1 cluster IP, then data services IP. Okay, so again you have to plan your subnets for this same. Okay, consider if you have one cluster with 3, then 3 into 2 you require 6, and then additionally 1 IP for cluster and data services, then you also need to have a buffer. Okay, so considering your future requirement, so this is how you have to plan your subnets. Okay, then IP allocation wise, for an example, if you have 10 plus 0, uh, 2 is free, then take 2, 3, 4 for server 1 IPMI, server 2 IPMI, server 3. Okay, same way you can go next. Okay, but coming to this data print subnet, consider if you have 20.0.0.2, take this as your hypervisor, then take 3 as your CVM. Okay, this is for node 1, and going to the node 2, take 4 and 5. Okay, hypervisor CVM. This is for node 2. Okay, then 6 and 7 for the node 3. Okay, then 8 can be this last IP. Okay, already 6, 7 got assigned. We have 8th IP is the next free IP. You can take 8 as your cluster IP. Otherwise, what you can do is you can take the first IP as your cluster IP. That's 2, right? 2 you can keep it as your cluster IP. Then from 3, 4 you can take for your hypervisor and CVM. Okay, so this is how most of the cases the implementation goes like this. So if you are going for a customer call, and if they ask you how many subnets you require and how many IPs you require per node, you have to put up all this explanation. Okay, and maybe you have to put up this count. Hey, total I might need this many IPs. Okay, and customer should we said about the data services, right? Data services IP. Okay, so we might not know what is going to be in future, right? But still we recommend you to keep this IP, whether you use it or you don't use it. But we still keep you to we will ask you to reserve this IP, because in future if you are going for block services or file services, then you might require that IP. So you will be in a problem to find out the IPs from that particular range. Okay, if it is already reserved, then you can take that reserved IP and you can make use of it. Okay, any question here on the IP side?
On that, okay, data services, okay, we have the two interfaces, right? 1/1 and 1/1/2. So on that only we are configuring this data services, right?
Okay, good
Or
question. Okay, good question. So consider this. Okay, you have if you have already worked on VMware, you have your server, and this server you have installed hypervisor called ESXi. Okay, that has two interfaces, and then on top of that you have something called vSwitch. Okay, and then you have VMs. Okay, so do you know that where this hypervisor IP gets assigned, and do you know where this CVM IP gets assigned? If no, okay, you have something called VM kernel. Okay, you create a VM kernel interface or port group. Okay, in this port group you assign IP, and for this VM kernel interface you map these two interfaces as uplink. Okay, then coming to the VMs, guest VMs, there is something called VNIC, right? Virtual interface card, network interface card. This gets the IP. Okay, so there are no way you are assigning the IP to the interfaces directly. Okay, so you are creating everything on virtual, and that gets your IP. Okay, so same here. Coming to this NUTANIX side. Okay, this is your traditional. Okay, then this is your NUTANIX. Okay, you have hypervisor, and then top of that you have V switches. Okay, and then you have something called VMs, and there is a VM CVM. It is also a VM, right? Okay, now I make it that will be here. Okay, so here I put V switches. Okay, then you have something called CVM. Okay, for this hypervisor, there's a VM kernel board, and you have an uplink of your physical interfaces, and it gets one IP. Then coming to the CVM IP, it is a VM, so there is a VNIC, and this gets one IP. And data services and cluster IP, right? Cluster IP we say, or virtual IP. Okay, virtual IP. These two gets assigned to your CVM. Okay, so for an example, if you have ETH1/1, then there will be one more interface called 1/1, then 1/1.2. Okay, these are sub interfaces. Okay, these sub interfaces created under your CVM primary interface. This primary IP is your CVM IP. If this CVM owns the cluster IP, then that will create additional interface called /1.1. This is a sub interface. Okay, then if you assign data services, then that additionally create one sub interface. We will see more on this part while discussing about the networking side. I'll talk about CVM side and hypervisor side more in detail. But for now, so this is how it works. Like the virtual IPs and cluster virtual IP and data services IP gets assigned to CVM, but it does not create separate VNIC. It creates a sub interface under the same primary interface. Okay, then your hypervisor IP gets assigned to your hypervisor. Is it clear?
Yeah. So you mean to say that whatever that physical interfaces for the node that will be connected to the switch, so that may be the trunk port they may be allowed, right? Whatever that IPs we are going to use, that they will allow.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So another good question here. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So these two interfaces. This is where your hypervisor and CVM traffic comes, right? This should be your trunk, okay? And this IPMI needs to be your access port, okay? A difference between trunk and access, if it is trunk, it allows all the VLANs, okay, different VLANs. And if it is access port, then it it only allows the particular traffic, okay? So, any question?
Oh, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. Others, any question? Okay. So now, this is how the connectivity. Okay. So I'll still IP side. I think you are clear. If you still have any questions, stop me and ask. Okay. So next part, cabling side. Okay. So take one server, IPMI, it connected to this switch. Okay. For foundation, we have to we require this IPMI connectivity. Okay, server 2 and server 3. Okay, there is IPMI, that's it. So it is connected to the OOB switch. Okay, and as a field engineer or as a professional service team, you are going to create or you are going to install the cluster on the customer, right? Then you have to connect your laptop to the same switch where your server's IPMI gets connected. Okay, if you don't have laptop, okay, what should I have in my laptop? You need foundation software. Okay, or OVA file. Okay, so this needs to be installed on your laptop. Okay, second question, can I install this directly on my laptop? Yes. Now Okay, that's a big answer now. Okay, and earlier period of time, it is no. Okay, I mean the no and yes for direct installation on laptop. Okay, okay. If it is no, then how it is installed on laptop? You need type. You need type 2 hypervisor. Okay, you need type 2 hypervisor. And what is a type 2 hypervisor? It is VMware workstation, okay, or Oracle VirtualBox. Okay, these two, any one of these two has to be installed on your laptop. Then you will create a VM with this OVF file on your VMware workstation or Oracle VirtualBox. Okay, and then there is one way. One is VirtualBox or workstation. Okay. Second, it can be installed as a VM on ESXi. Okay, these two ways. If you install VM on ESXi, then this server, ESXi server, needs to be connected, or it should have a reachability to this switch. Okay, but mostly that would not be the case because you keep this as your out of band traffic, and out of band traffic you always have a separate connectivity, right? So if you really need it to be installed on ES6, then go with this approach. Otherwise, take a laptop, install virtual box or workstation, and then download the OVA from NUTANIX website and install, create a VM. This is a VM. Okay. So okay, so overall, okay, foundation, we have four types. We have four types of foundation. One is standalone. Second one is CVM foundation. Okay. Third one is foundation on central. Okay. And then fourth one is portable foundation. Okay, so these are the four different foundations available in the NUTANIX. Okay, and you know what is foundation, right? Foundation automates the installation of hypervisor, CVM, and cluster creation. Okay, okay. So there's a word called automation, right? It automates. But before automation, there should be manual. Okay, manual approach, you have to install hypervisor, you have to install CVM, you have to create the cluster. These three will be done manually. Sorry, not will be done. It was done manually. Okay, but now we still have this option, but we are not. Most of the cases we are not doing because it is a time consuming because you have to go one by one. First, you go to server one, you install your hypervisor, you initiate the installation, then you go to server two, then you go to server three. Once hypervisor done, then you create CVM. Server 1, server 2, server 3. It is a time consuming and it takes long time, right? To finish up if it is here, if it is a big number of nodes or huge number of nodes available. To make this process simple, NUTANIX comes with this software called Foundation. So there are totally four foundation, standalone CVM foundation. Okay, we go one by one. Use case in which scenario you should take up the different foundations. Okay, this time you have to remember about the OEM SX. Okay, in SX we have OEM and then software only nodes. Okay, then we have something called NX. This is for NUTANIX. Okay, and NX and OEM we have similar offer, and SX different way. Do you remember what is the similar offer for NX and OEM? I don't say similar, same offer you can say. Okay, similar or same. Do you remember what is the difference between NX, OEM, and SX? Anybody? Yes, no?
No, per. No. No idea.
Okay, I said NX is Nutanix hardware, and I also highlighted the word called factory imaged. Okay, factory image, or you can say pre-installed hypervisor. Okay, so these two are applied to NX and OEM vendors. Okay, you buy hardware, you order for a hardware. Uh, Before they ship your hardware, they first install the hypervisor and they install the CVM. They don't create cluster. Okay, so creating a cluster, they leave it to us because we have to provide the IPs, and next we can create a cluster, right? So they just install the vanilla flavor of hypervisor, which does not have IP, and then they install the CVM. Even CVM does not have an IP. Okay, so you get the server, rack and stack, connect the cable, and then connect to that server, and then you can create the cluster. Okay, so but if you go with SX, okay, if you go with okay, if you go with SX model server, okay, SX, or you can say you are reimaging the server. Okay, you already have a hypervisor, but changing your hypervisor, or you felt that you want to reimage or reformat your server. In those cases, we actually save bare metal provisioning. Okay, so if it is bare metal, then the server has nothing. Okay, it has to do it from the initial stage. Okay, in that cases, you have to take standalone foundation. Okay, standalone foundation, because it has nothing. When I say nothing, no hypervisor. If there is no hypervisor, then no CVM, right? No VMs can be created. Okay, so who comes under SX? Okay, Cisco servers and non-OEM other servers like Class, and there are so many vendors. Okay, and if you want to do if you already have a HPE server in your data center, and that HPE server is installed with a Hyper-V, but now you are going with a different hypervisor, then you can also take that server as bare metal provisioning. Okay, so it can be any server, but most of the cases SX is the right scenario where your standalone foundation suits, or you can say bare metal provisioning. You have to ask your customer, is it going to be a bare metal provision? Because if you say bare metal provision, I need to bring my laptop. On that laptop I should have foundation gets installed. Okay, which foundation? It is standalone foundation. How can I install? I need to have the hypervisor, Oracle virtual box. Okay. Once you install this VirtualBox and then set up your standalone foundation, take this laptop, okay, and connect to the same out of band switch. Okay, to do this, you have to go inside the data center. You have to ask the admin to provide the cable from that same out of band switch and connect that switch. Connect your laptop to that switch. Okay, why are we doing this step? Okay, I said IPMI is primary requirement for the foundation to work. Okay, IPMI, and then in the IPMI, okay, in the IPMI, you can have IPv4 IP. Okay, you have IPv4 IP, but you also need to enable IPv6. Okay, because using the link local IPv6. Okay, and you can say NDP protocol. Okay, what is NDP protocol? Neighbor discovery protocol. Okay, from the word itself you can understand. It discovers the neighbors. Okay, so to connect, who is neighbor? Okay, who are connected to the same switch. Okay, and it should be same L2 domain. Okay, you should not have VLAN separation. It should be on the same VLAN. Okay, that's we say L2 domain. Okay, all servers need to be connected under one L2 domain. Okay, so those servers will be discovered. Those neighbors will be discovered using this neighbor discovery protocol, and that will be published on the foundation page. To discover the servers, foundation required IPv6 needs to be enabled. Once you enable IPv6, this standalone foundation discovers, okay, all the nodes in the network. Okay, because this foundation is connected to this switch, and where all my servers are also connected. Okay, in this all this server I have enabled IPv6. So with this NDP protocol, my foundation VM discovers all these nodes and publish on the portal. Okay, okay, so connectivity wise, this is how you have to connect. Okay, you have a laptop. In this laptop you have installed the foundation. Okay, standalone foundation. It is a virtual machine. To install virtual machine you need the hypervisor, so you take Oracle VirtualBox and it is connected to the switch, and all your servers also connected to the switch. Okay, here I have a block. In that block I totally have 4 nodes, A, B, C, D. You know what is the difference between block and nodes, right? So in a block I have a centralized power supply and cooling system. To give us power supply, to get a power supply, nodes needs to be connected into the block. So total I have 4 blocks, sorry, 4 nodes in a block. So now every server, see, this is your, okay, this is the IPMI for server B. This is IPMI interface for server A. This is an IPMI interface for server C, and then D. Okay, but I did not exactly marked into the IPMI interface here, but for a reference I just put it. Okay, so somewhere here it is an IPMI interface. Okay, but still, to differentiate, each server comes with dedicated IPMI. There is no centralized IPMI for one block. Okay, because servers has a dedicated connectivity, so every server has IPMI and data. Okay, so if this is your IPMI and this is, these two interfaces are your data plane. Okay, and here this is your IPMI and these two are your data plane. Okay, so now all the servers connected to this switch. So now on this interface you enable IPMI. On this interface, okay, you have to enable IPMI. So okay, so don't get confused with this color mapping. Yeah.
Well, actually, I have a question here.
Like, okay, whether we need to do the sequence of that, okay, node counting, like, okay, clockwise or anti-clockwise, or how we need to, like, okay. Because in that earlier you have mentioned, okay, in the different way, now it is A, B, C, D, like that, so in that upper and down.
Oh,
Is there anything
the mapping of.
we need to consider? Yes, yes,
Oh
we
yeah,
need to consider
definitely,
in.
definitely. Yes, yes, that's right. A good question. This A, B, C, D are very mandatory. Okay, okay, because when you relocate, reallocate, see, consider you remove this node D, okay, and if you connect to here, uh, this NUTANIX still consider A as this previous node, right? Consider that as the node. Okay, when you reposition the node, there is a JSON file for this block. You have to modify that file, and you have to mention that, hey, I replaced A with the, okay, I interchanged. So you have to change that position. So consider, let me make it very simple. Okay, so consider this is your block. Okay, in a block you have 4 servers. Okay, uh, his question is, earlier I said this is B, this is B, and C and D, but if you see this diagram, A is at down. Okay, but it is not a, yes, we have to really consider this position. Okay, if consider if node called serial number S10506, okay, then node 2 called S20506. If this is your serial number, this serial number needs to be added into the JSON file. Okay, there is an inventory, something called inventory, then you get some prefix dot JSON, where you have to say A position, I have node which has serial number of something, and B, I have something called serial number of something, C something, okay, and D something. By default, you don't need to put up this entries. It is already there when they do the shipping, right? They already made this entry. But when you change the position, so consider you take A, bring the A to here, and then D to here. Okay, but generally we are not changing this ABCD, we are only changing the node. But for the discussion I said, okay, take the node which is in the A position, move to D position. Okay, but we are not changing ABCD. ABCD is the position of slot, I mean the slot position of a block. We cannot change this ABCD, only we have to change the nodes. Okay. Okay, to make it again simple, I think I'm making complicated. See, A, B, C, D, right? We cannot change this A, B, C, D. Okay, what we can do is consider in the A position if you have this node. Okay, and in the C position you have this node. So now you can change this node to A position, and you can change this node to C position. But when you make these changes, you have to go to this inventory file. You have to make this correction. Otherwise, system will not system will not know these changes. It causes a problem when node goes down. Okay, when node goes down, so consider you move the 506 from A position to C position, and then 06, right, it is moved from C to A. But if you have not make these changes, some consider if 506 goes down. Okay, technically the 506 now it is running in the C position, but system knows 506 is running in A position because we have not updated this inventory file. Then system feels, okay, 506 it is on the A position, that node is now down. Okay, so you get a alert for A position, but the 506 is actually running in the C position. If you have made these changes, then it will correctly throw the alert for C position. But if you have not done the changes, so it gives the wrong notification that node A is down. Okay, and to have a smooth function, it is good to modify this file when you change the position of a node. Okay, so this is something I have put it for the presentation, but generally, I mean, this is the, I mean, this is how it looks. But still, maybe it may get changed by a block basis. I don't know. I'm not really sure if it is really different for each and every block. But I always recommend you to check the inventory file first, okay, and get to know the position of each and every node, and then you can do your activity. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Paul. Actually, there is no standard, right? So whatever that we are just considered as a that needs to okay, have that serial number, right? In the position, whatever that node is there.
Yes, I can still show you one more window. Let me show you the page.
Because okay, why I asked is like okay, A should be on the top left, or it should be on that
Hmm.
okay right bottom. So, so in that way, like okay, I need to.
Okay, so okay, this is the old screen. I'll get you. I'll show you then. Okay, yeah, I think this was the one.
No, that's fine. Going forward, we can like okay. So
Okay,
whatever that
okay,
we
yeah,
need to
sure.
consider the JSON file, right? So
Yeah,
that is the
right.
matter.
You have to. Yeah, yeah, correct.
Yeah.
But if you
Okay.
don't replace or if you don't change the position of node, then it is fine. And another use case, if you have a faulty node and you are going to change that faulty node, then you have to replace this inventory. Okay, because you are removing the faulty node and then replacing the new node, right? The new node serial number needs to be entered into the IPMI, that JSON file, and this
Yeah. Got
apply only for the NUTANIX servers, NX based servers, not for other servers. Okay, other servers we don't need to make this correction, because other servers HP, Dell, and other servers it does not comes with block concept. Okay, a block and node. So here only we can get that particular concept. So we need to modify that file when you change the position of node. This is only applied for Nutanix NX model servers.
got it. Paul. Thanks. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there
Yeah.
any way to is there any sequence to apply A from starting up and bottom side,
Creating a
or
cluster.
yeah? So you have mentioned here A, B, C, D, right? So A start with bottom one and B is upside and C is again downside. So is the sequence is following by the server to allocate A and B node, or is there any other sequence the server will follow?
Okay, this A, B, C, D is hard coded. Okay, there is no relationship between node for this time. The block has a name for every slot. Okay, the block, if you take empty block, the empty block, you have a slot, B slot, C slot, D slot. Okay, in that slot, wherever you want to connect a node, you can connect it. And if you connect it, you have to modify the inventory file. Okay, there is no sequential order. Okay, I should go this way. No, it's not a case. You can take any series, but your question is like I have. So for example, I have taken this D slot, and can I change it to A slot? No, that's not possible, because these all are hard coded into the hardware, the block hardware. We cannot make these changes. Okay, but instead of replacing the node or changing the position of node is possible, but you cannot change this A, B, C, D position. Okay.
You mean that so it's hard coded means in hardware the A should be come in the bottom side only, right?
uh, that particular area I'm really not sure if it comes from bottom area, but I can start double check and come back to you. Okay, because one side I saw that A comes here, but I did not really looked into that more. I mean, I mean, I casually saw and do it, but I did not notify it very clearly. But I can double check that. I'll come back to you that particular area, whether A comes from down or A comes from here. Okay.
Yeah, so in the
This
hardware,
in
it mentioned this one is A and B something, or
can you come again?
in the hardware,
Hmm.
hardware device, uh, it mentioned A, right? So in the hardware, it mentioned as a A here and B here or something, or it's a logical process will allocate automatically A and B, C, and
No, there is a tagging. I mean, where you can find in the hardware. I'm just trying to show that screen, but uh, I'll I'll show you a little later. I think
I think Paul, this
here
is
I have
like a kind of okay. We are having the four disk, right? Starting with okay, some vendor it will be
hmm,
starting with
hmm,
the disk 0, 1, 2, 3. Some vendor it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But
hmm.
the slots remain same only, right?
Correct. So here I'm not exactly. I mean, it is before this. I mean, discovery process. Okay. So this is block serial number is this, and it has A, B, C, D. Okay. When you discover the node, it discovers. Okay, it automatically discovers because in this block 3.2, right? 3.2 already has the inventory file and that JSON file where it has the A has particular serial number of node, right? And once the discover happen, it shows here okay A that particular node is available, B particular node is available. Okay, this A B C D is fixed. Okay, it is hard coded, you cannot change it. But this serial number, right, node serial number, when you change this node from here to here, the node serial number moved from here to here. Okay, but you cannot change this position because it's a fixed module on the block.
yeah, understand this. My question is like A, it should become part of the bottom side, and B is the bottom top of the A something. Is there any sequence is followed? That is the reason I'm asking.
Okay, so as I mentioned, I'll check and get back to you that on that particular part. Okay, I'll
Sure,
just
sure,
try
sure.
to compare with a few other model of chassis, and I'll see if they follow the same approach or a different approach for chassis. Okay, probably tomorrow I'll get it confirmed with
Sure, sure.
you. Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, moving back. Okay, so overall, this is how the cabling has to be done. Okay, and this is for the standalone foundation. Okay, so standalone foundation is suitable for bare metal. Okay, so here we have standalone foundation, bare metal imaging, and SX. The requirement is Oracle VirtualBox or VM workstation. Okay, so then I think you are clear on the uh, standalone foundation. Okay, if you have any question, please let me know. We will see more on foundation side, but so far we just see the differentiation of each and every product and in which are the cases we have to take which foundation. Okay, so next would be like CVM foundation.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
like before moving to that, you
Hmm.
have that for this IPMI, you told that okay, OOB switches, right?
Hmm.
But in this rack, we have only top two switches, right? Switch A, switch B,
Hmm.
or switch N, switch 2 only, right? So
Hmm.
most probably all the IPMI will be connected to the same rack, right?
Same rack or same top torch switch?
Ah, uh,
What is?
Same tar switch only. I'm just okay. Will be connected to the tar switch. There we might have that okay different VLAN for IPMI.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think,
That is.
I don't
Yeah. Hmm.
I don't think there will be okay separate switch for IPMI in that production environment. Okay, because in all our environments like it will be okay with that same tar switch. Okay, switch A or switch B or switch 1 or switch 2. So we have the different VLANs only. So I don't see any OOB switches separately for this. In the
That's
traditional, I'm
again.
just talking about.
Okay. That's again good question. Okay. See, IPMA, you take 1 gig for your tor switch for the data traffic. If your requirement is 10 gig, okay, you can still have one switch with the different modules. In one module, you can have combination of 10 gig and another. Sorry, you can have a switch with a combination of 10 gig and 1 gig by having two different modules. In another module, you can have 1 gig. Okay, but if your data traffic itself required more number of 10 gig switch, then you have to go for the full switch with 10 gig interfaces, right? In that cases, for the IPMI 1 gig interface you cannot provide. You need to have a separate switch. It is again depends upon the requirement you can take, but most of the cases are very well planned network. They try to keep the 1 gig IPMI interfaces into a different OOB switch, and the position of switch maybe they might have a different rack for the OOB switch, and they lay the cable to that particular rack to have the connectivity. Okay, and if your top switch has two IO module in the one switch, where one side you have 10G and another side 1G, then this can be done. But otherwise, you need to have two different switches, right?
Yeah, got it. Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So moving to the CVM foundation. Okay, so second is CVM foundation. So from the word itself, you can find CVM. Okay, now this foundation. Okay, so in this case, foundation. Okay, is a service. Okay, it is running on CVM. If 3 CVMs, then you get 3 foundation service. Okay, what is the use case for foundation? Consider OEM. Okay, OEM or NX server, which comes with factory loaded hypervisor and CVM installed. Okay, or you can say preloaded. Okay, only the names are different, but the concept is everything is same. Factory loaded, preloaded. Okay, you already have hypervisor, you already have CVM. As I mentioned earlier, hypervisor gets installed by your server vendor, CVM gets installed by your server vendor, and they ship you the server with the hypervisor and CVM created. Okay, so you have to connect to the network. Okay, you have to connect to the network, and then you have to change the IPs, change or assign IP. Okay, assign IP, but before that, cabling part is important. You have to connect the cable, then power on. Okay, then change and or assign the IPs to the your DC VLAN IP range. Okay, and then you can actually create cluster. Okay, so now question to you. You might have a question, right? I'm more of talking about the AHV hypervisor here. Okay, ESXi I'm not talking. ESXi is a different approach. Okay, so AHV. Okay, consider you have a node where you have the AHV hypervisor. Okay, then you have the CVM running. As I told during the first day of session, AHV has no GUI. Okay, only CLI. Okay, remember, only CLI. Okay, so now to create a cluster, you need to enter into your CVM. Okay, so creating a cluster command can run on CVM. Okay, to run on CVM. Okay, to run this create cluster or discover the nodes. Okay, so maybe I go to the next screen. And okay, so consider you bought OEM servers. Now you have 3 servers. Okay, 3 servers. Hypervisor is already installed by your OEM vendor, and CVM is already created. Okay, what is not there? The cluster is not there. So each node now is a different individual node. Okay, it is not having the distributed storage fabric. Okay, so now what you have to do is everything is connected to the IPMI. and then you have also your data network. Okay, so IPMI comes here. Okay, server 2, server 3. Okay, so now some way you have to get into this server, and then you have to create your cluster, right? So to do this, to take a console, we have something called Java applet. Okay, in earlier cases we have something called standalone foundation, right? Standalone foundation using IPv6 link local, it discovers the nodes. So now I have OEM vendor, but still I have to discover the nodes, right? To discover the node, you need to use something called Java applet. This can be downloaded from the NUTANIX website. It's a small appliance or small software piece, okay? Very lightweight and very small in size. You can download this. When you run this Java applet, okay, it immediately using the same approach of IPv6, okay, it immediately IPv6, it discovers the nodes. Okay, it discovers the nodes or CVM. Okay, you can say CVMs. Okay, using the Java applet, it discovers all the free CVMs. What do you mean by free CVMs? Free CVM is it is not part of the cluster. Okay, so those are the VMs which are individual or independent, right? It is not part of any cluster. Those CVMs will be, I mean, all CVMs will be discovered, but it shows the CVM is available. Okay, that message you got it. So you have to just click that CVM, and then from there you can get an access to CVM foundation. Okay, or otherwise what you can do is, if you already have assigned IP to your CVM, okay, then you can take your CVM IP, okay, then slash, you can put, I think 8000 is the port number for CVM service. Okay, you can take this IP and port number, you can enter in a browser, you will be able to open the CVM console. Okay, and then from there you can you can create the cluster. Okay, so CVM foundation use case, you don't need to install hypervisor, you don't need to install CVM, you have to only create a cluster. To create a cluster, first you have to discover the nodes, and then you have to create the cluster. Okay, okay, we'll show you that Java applet by tomorrow. Okay, yeah, so see here. Okay, so discovery applet, this is Java applet which you can download from the internet, and this is the Java applet console. Okay, so it discovers all the, see, unavailable here, this unavailable in the sense it is already part of the cluster, so you cannot pick this server and then you can run the foundation. Okay, so you have free status, out of that you can pick any one and then click launch foundation, it launch the foundation. So now you have a question where that foundation software is running, right? So now I told foundation is in this case foundation is not a software, it is a service running on CVM. Okay, CVM has 30 plus services. Okay, each service owns different responsibility. Foundation service takes care of this creating cluster. Okay, so if this node, right, this node has a CVM, if that CVM is already part of one cluster, then this status gets changed to unavailable. Okay, okay, so so overall by looking at the screen, okay, he has a cluster already because there are 1020 1020 nodes are available. Okay, and so the position is A. Okay, so probably it might be from the, okay, it is actually showing for the same one. Okay, the serial number is same, it is already part of one cluster, so that is why it is showing unavailable. So now the customer has bought 4 different nodes. Okay, again it is, okay, this is a block. Okay, so this is a block. In a block, there is a position called A, B, C, and D. Okay, so totally 4 blocks, 4 nodes in a block. So he has a one block where he has 4 nodes, and all those 4 are free. So he can take any one and launch foundation, and then the foundation opens the for open the launch foundation option opens the browser where you get to access this CVM with 0808000 IP. The port number is 8000, right? So then you get an access to your foundation CVM foundation page. From there you can do the rest of the operation. Okay. Okay, so the next would be like yes. See, launch foundation, then you get this screen where you have to do the discovery of, say like you have to define which are the nodes needs to be part of one cluster. Okay, so we will see this little later. Okay, I'll have a lab for this. I'll take you to the lab and I'll see how this can be discovered. Okay, there's a simulator available in NUTANIX website. Making use of the simulator, we will do this lab. Okay, but we don't have actual lab for this. Using the simulator, we will try to see each step by step on the foundation side. Okay, so to overall, this is how the foundation looks. Okay, CVM foundation. So CVM foundation, you need to download the Java applet. Using the Java applet, you can discover the nodes in your data center. You have to pick the free node, okay, and then you have to click launch foundation. So now this, after this, you don't need to install any hypervisor and create CVM, right? It is already done. So next stage would be like creating the cluster. You have to choose which are the nodes needs to be part of that particular cluster. Okay, because here you have A, B, C, D. You can take A, B, and C. You can ignore D, but where you can select this node, right? That you can do it on the next stage. Here you can pick A, B, and C. You can uncheck the D and you can click next. Okay, so now it creates a cluster from one block. In that one block you have 4 nodes, but you skip to one, so it takes only 3 nodes and it forms a cluster. So this one will be on the unused state. Okay, so that's the CVM foundation. And moving back to foundation, the standalone foundation. Okay, so you have an Oracle VirtualBox where you have to create a VM with the downloaded OVA. So now, once you open that OVA, once you create a VM, then you have to log into that VM. You will have this set foundation IP address Python file available in the desktop. You have to run it. When you run it, it takes this screen. You have to click the device configuration. Okay, then pick this interface, change the IP to your local subnet. Okay, because this laptop, the foundation VM is installed on your laptop, and your laptop is connected to the same switch where your nodes are connected. So the IP range should be the same. Okay, so if your servers are using IPMA range from 10.163, if they are actually using 44, 45, 46, 46, then you can probably take 43 as your foundation VM IP. So this IP allocation part you have to do it, and then it is done. Okay, so then with this IP, once you have configured this IP, you click OK, and then this IP gets assigned to this VM. And using this IP 43, you have to enter this IP on your browser. It opens the foundation. Okay, and then the discovery happens. Okay, so this is for the standalone bare metal foundation. Sorry, standalone foundation for bare metal servers. Then we discuss about CVM foundation. CVM foundation, we are not installing any foundation software. We have to download the Java applet, and then that discovers the nodes. Okay, but rest screen would be like same. But I'll talk about this later. I will be doing the simulator lab session. Okay. Then any question on this part? Otherwise, we can move into the next one, uh, foundation on central. Just let me know if you have any question. Okay, so third foundation, foundation on central. Okay, so we have something called prism central. Okay, okay, what is this? It is similar like vCenter. vCenter used for managing multiple ESXi host and cluster. Okay, and prism central is to manage multiple NUTANIX cluster. Okay, so this is the it actually plays the same role of vCenter. Okay, so prism central you have multiple NUTANIX cluster. Okay, you can manage multiple NUTANIX cluster. So this is actually a VM you create separately like vCenter. vCenter, it is a separate VM, right? You set it, install on the same ESXi host or maybe a different ESXi host. But here Prism Central, you can deploy on the same Nutanix cluster, or if you have a different Nutanix cluster, you can install. Okay, but I don't know. I mean, this cannot be. I did not see a use case where people deploy this on the standalone ESXi host or something. Okay, it mostly I mean, as I know that it will be only deployed on the Nutanix cluster. Okay, so this Prism Central, there is a feature called foundation on central. Okay, foundation on central. The use case of this is, consider you have two different locations, Chennai and then you have something called US. Okay, US you have a DC. There's a DC in Chennai, India. Okay, then there is a DC in US. Okay, so now you are the admin team, you manage all your Nutanix cluster and you do the deployment. Okay, so now as I mentioned, the bare metal, the standalone foundation where you have to go and connect your laptop locally to the data center. Okay, you are in Chennai, you can do that, but you have to install the same Nutanix cluster in US data center. But you cannot travel to US. Consider the corona situation, nobody can travel, right? So similar kind of situation, the travel is restricted and you are not able to travel in. But as an admin, you want to do the deployment in US too. Okay, so those cases, you can take a foundation on central in the Prism Central. So this Prism Central, okay, sorry, in this Prism Central, you register both Chennai and US cluster. Okay, and then from there you can initiate the foundation. Okay, so I mean, this registration comes later stage, not now. Okay, because the cluster itself not ready, then how can you do the registration, right? Okay, so you set up the Prism Central on your Chennai, and then you register your, I mean, you already have a cluster, right? And on top of that only you are installing the Prism Central. So now to access your US, you need to have the proper network connectivity from your Chennai to US data center. And then using the foundation, there are certain requirement for this remote deployment to happen. Okay, so we are doing deployment remotely. That's the concept of foundation on central. Okay, specific ports needs to be open, and then DHCP server needs to be configured. There are so many requirements on the foundation on central. If you have to follow all that requirement, then from this Chennai office, on logging to the foundation, sorry, Prism Central and then foundation on central, you will be able to discover, okay, all the US nodes and then create the cluster. Okay, so that particular use case, the foundation on central is used. It is a new product from Nutanix. I mean, it released a long time back, like 2-3 years back. But last, the foundation on CVM foundation and bare metal standalone foundation, right? Those two are been in market for a very long time, but foundation on central is very new to the market. Very few cases people are using it. Okay, but most of the deployment happening over the standalone foundation and then CVM foundation. Okay, but if you have a requirement for remote deployment, then you can consider foundation on central. For that, you have to install the Prism Central. But don't worry, if you have a NUTANIX cluster already running, then you definitely you will need Prism Central. So you will already have the Prism Central installed. Okay, only thing is you have to go and click this feature, but before that the requirement has to be met. Okay, so that's the foundation on the central. Any question here?
So the Prism Central is look like vCenter, or it's a different technology.
Okay, see, on a high level, it does the role of vCenter. What vCenter does, it manages the different nodes. It gives the monitoring of different ESXi hosts, and under the vCenter, you can create different clusters also, right? The same all you can do it, but now. Earlier periodic time, NUTANIX Prism Central is not the mandatory requirement, okay, because it offers very limited features. Now, you cannot ignore Prism Central because if you want orchestration automation, if you want NUTANIX flow like software defined networking, okay, or if you want availability zone like data protection, backup or disaster recovery, so all that now you can create under the Prism Central. Okay, so Prism Central is not like vCenter alone, but it has different features offered by Nutanix. Okay, like as mentioned, COM, Flow, Era is a database as a service, and it is again a separate VM, but it gets registered under the Prism Central, and then availability zone, right? Xi Leap, we say Xi Cloud, Xi Leap. So all that comes under Prism Central. So Prism Central is now one centralized management. Under that, you will be able to create all the features. You don't need to log into each and every cluster, do the operation or manage it. So from Prism Central, you can get a view to all your cluster, all your nodes, all your SSDs, all your controllers, everything you can do it.
So Paul, this is a appliance, right? This is a VM, right? That's what you said.
Yes, this is a VM. You can log into your Prism's. I'll show you. We have a separate session for Prism Central,
That's
but
fine.
it is a VM. It can be deployed as a one VM or three VMs, but there are different use cases for one and three. We will talk about all that later. But yes, it is a VM.
Okay. What about the license? How it will be like considered? Is it free or?
Prism again, Nutanix everywhere you have a free license, the starter license, okay. But Pro and Ultimate is, the cost is involved, okay. But basic you get it for free.
Okay, okay. Is there any restriction like okay in the basic how many clusters we can manage?
Okay, yes, we have that. Uh, where I have the license part. Okay, so I think tomorrow we will see that license comparison.
Okay,
I'll talk about the
okay,
license differences. Okay,
okay. Okay.
yeah.
Is there any specific port? Okay, for this, which it
Okay.
will connect.
It again it comes under the same subnet of your. I told you two subnets, right? If you get an IP from the same subnet, that's fine. It works. You don't need to open any ports between inside one subnet. But if it is a different subnet, yes, it requires some ports to be open. I can give you
As
the list of ports. For every hypervisor ESXi, what could be the port requirement? Hypervisor probably I can. There is a link even available in the internet. You can take it.
mhm. Because as you said, okay, one we can maintain from Chennai and the another is from okay US. Definitely there will be different
Hmm.
different IP subnets, right? So
Okay. Yes, but earlier, before you can have one Prism Central for a whole your cluster. Okay, whole your infrastructure. If you have multiple clusters in multiple locations, you can still have one Prism Central to manage all the clusters. But now, what Nutanix does is go with location wise. If you have 5 locations, go with 5 Prism Central. Okay, so each location hosts to one Prism Central or maybe cluster. Again, Prism Center has a clustering concept, one or three. Okay, but every location you will have a prism central. So how this the reachability would be like, I said, right? Foundation, you have a prism center here, and in US too, you have a prism center. Okay, but I need to still double check. That's a good question, because Prism Center comes only after you have a cluster. But earlier, the requirement was not that case, because every location you need to place the Prism Center, right? That was not there earlier. Uh, that situation, you have one Prism Center at your location, Chennai, and from here, with the certain requirements met, you will be able to discover it. But now, NUTANIX recommends to have Prism Center at every location. Okay, uh, I can still double check this part. Okay, I'm sure that this approach is still valid, because without cluster you cannot have Prism Central. But have if you already have one cluster, and on top of that, if you are running Prism Central, but still now you need to create one more cluster from Chennai. In that cases, I need to check how it works. Can we make the communication, I mean, can we get into this Prism Central and run it, or do we still require this Prism Central to communicate with this Prism Central and then establish it? Okay, I'll I can probably, that one use case I check and come back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Thanks.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so last one foundation is portable foundation. Okay, I think you already got it. What is portable, right? Portable foundation. So it addresses the problem of standalone foundation. Okay, it addresses the problem of standalone foundation. What is the problem in standalone foundation? You need type 2 hypervisor. Okay, then it needs a VM. That VM needs, you need to change the IP. Every deployment, every customer might have different ranges of IP. So you have to, every time have to go and change the IP, log into the VM, run the script, change the IP, then you take the browser, right? So now you don't need to do these steps. Okay, so this, what you have to do is now it is coming as a software. The portable foundation is a software. It is similar like, oh, I mean, we have a software gets installed in the machine, right? The same way you can install this software, and I mean, you only need to change your local laptop IP. Okay, when you go to your customer place, you have to change your laptop IP to the particular range, and then if you run this software, it does the role of foundation. Okay, it is actually a new product from Nutanix. So now most of the field engineers and SC deployment professional services team are actually using this foundation. So this works for the field engineers and professional services team, because they go to different customer and they have to run this software, right? But if you are working for one customer and you are not doing the field management, you are doing the operation side, then probably you don't need this portable foundation. It is only for the field engineers. Okay, for you cases might be you can have a standalone foundation some cases, or you can take CVM foundation. Okay, yeah, so that's more about the foundation. Any question on this part? Okay,
This
so we
portable
covered
foundation also it will discover the nodes, right? Paul?
yeah, rest all like same. So the
Same, same. Okay.
foundation role is same. It discovers, it images, it creates the cluster. Okay, but the mode of installation, okay, that's where, I mean, the difference is.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay, okay, we already covered this. Portable foundation supported Windows and Mac OS. We already covered standalone foundation VM. Prepare factory image nodes for imaging. That also we covered. IPMA interface, cabling port, then IPv6 enable, and NDP protocol discovers, right? CVM foundation upgrade, prepare bare metal nodes for imaging, installing the foundation VM, and then ISO files. Okay, so preparing bare metal nodes for imaging, that also may covered. Factory image means OEM based, bare metal in the sense SX, software only nodes. Okay, so now moving back to the presentation. Okay, so what is foundation? Foundation is a tool that allow administrators to completely bootstrap, deploy and configure bare metal NUTANIX. Okay, CM Foundation now supports imaging nodes without forming a cluster. Okay, this was already supported in standalone Foundation. Okay, so then this is something. Okay, okay, so we have a foundation, and then we have something called Phoenix. Okay, so Phoenix, if you have already worked on Nutanix environment, you might have heard this thing. Sometimes they ask you, I mean, do you have Phoenix image or download the Phoenix image? Okay, I'll come to this Phoenix image later. Okay, what is the foundation use case? ISO of the hypervisor provided by the customer. AOS target downloaded from the support portal. Okay, discovers unconfigured nodes using the IPv6 neighbor discovery protocol NDP. Okay, these two statements I come back to you a little later. Okay, so Foundation standalone VM, VMware Workstation, VMware ESXi, VMware Player, and Oracle VM are supported. Okay, so you have a base VM, Windows or Mac OS. On top of you have virtual box, and then on top of you have the foundation VM. Okay, and it is connected to the 1 GB switch IPMA ports where your Nutanix blocks are connected. Here there are two blocks. In each block you have four nodes. Okay, so total four. Each node has one. I mean, every node has one IPMA interface. So total you get four cables from here and four cables from here. Okay, this is a requirement from Nutanix Foundation. The storage side, disk side, right? You need 24 GB. Okay, and sometimes you might require more because uh, if you have to install ESXi, you will have to upload the ESXi hypervisor into this Nutanix Foundation. Okay, if you have a scenario where you go for ESXi one day, then you go for Hyper-V another day, then another day you go for AHP hypervisor. Okay, and you cannot uh, do this download and upload every time, right? You do it at one time, and which, I mean, different cases you pick up different hypervisor. And then coming to the ESXi, some customer ask you x 6.5 or 6.6 or 6.7. Then there is also U1, U2, U3, right? Separate build available, updates available. So every cases you need to have all the hypervisor needs to be uploaded, right? So then foundation requires more storage. Please keep in mind that some it will throw an error when it runs out of the storage. Okay, the foundation will not proceed further. So because when you run foundation, it also uh, generates some log information that needs to be stored on the same disk, right? So it will throw an error when you are running out of storage. So those cases, the best practice would be like increase the storage size, or you can clean up the unused ISO images. Okay. Okay. So I have to come back to this Phoenix. Okay, I'll come back to this Phoenix a little later. Then CVM Foundation. Okay, you have a discovery applet user. You are running the applet. Okay, from the browser you are running the. You are running the. Sorry, you are running the discovery Java applet. It discovers the nodes using the IPv6 link local. LL means link local. Same process in every CVM. Every node you have a CVM. In every CVM you have a foundation service. This Java applet discover the nodes and try to get the foundation page using the browser. Take the foundation CVM IP and then connect to the foundation. If you want to connect to this foundation, take this CVM IP, then change the port number. Or if you want to connect this foundation, take the IP, add the foundation port number. Okay, it apply to every node. Okay. Way to access CVM, a Java applet connects to the nodes, Java applet tunnels to the CVM, connect to the CVM on port 8000. Okay, so CVM IP, then port number of 8000. Okay, and the conditions, if the CVM is unconfigured, the foundation service will stay active and listening. If the CVM is configured, it is already part of a cluster, then the foundation service will be down status. Okay, so Java applet that automatically discovers all the nodes on the subnet, both configured and unconfigured, and allows you to choose the unconfigured node from uh, which to run foundation. So I told you, right, unavailable and free, I already showed you, right? So rest like taking the CVM IP, then 8000 port number, it takes you to the CVM foundation page. Okay. Okay, foundation flow. Okay, before that, I touch base Phoenix and then come back to this. Okay, things to know about CVM Foundation: do not use IPMI, requires discovery from CVM, and requires that you to build the cluster 3 node minimum. Okay, we are not using the, it does not use the IPMI because CVM Foundation, we use the Java applet to discover the CVM, which are the CVMs free, and then we will take it. Okay, because this one statement still, I mean, the standalone foundation, right? It actually uses IPMI for the imaging the node. Okay, the Phoenix image, right? That Phoenix image gets mapped to this IPMI interface. Okay, I come back to this later. Standalone, we already see it. Phoenix image. Okay, foundation central. Okay, so this is the foundation central. You have the number of nodes discovered here. Then you can pick this and then create your cluster at a different remote location. Okay. On the requirement side, DHCP server must be present and configured with vendor specific option. Vendor class and enhanced rated options needs to be configured in the DHCP server. L3 connectivity from remote nodes to uh, foundation central must be available. So if Chennai, if your foundation central running, then US to your Chennai office, the L3 connectivity needs to be run. Foundation 4.3 or higher installed on remote CVMs. Okay, and then remote CVM must be configured in DHCP mode. Okay, so why we don't have a remote cluster? Then why remote CVM comes, right? So the initial stage of this foundation, it actually does the role of CVM foundation. You know what is CVM foundation? You already have the factory imaged nodes connected in the switch. You need to only create a cluster, right? So in those cases, you need CVM foundation. So initially, the foundation on central does the role of CVM foundation, but now it also does the role of standalone foundation. Okay, it can it does the bare metal image. Okay. Okay, so this is the foundation service. We already discussed all this. Okay, and setting up this. Okay, so for this I have a simulator. I'll try to see this today if time permits. Okay. Okay, so now we have to see. I think if you need break, we can take 10 minutes break, probably 7:15 to 7:25 if you need break. If you guys need a break, after a break, we can talk about Phoenix, and then I can show you the simulator. You guys need a break?
Okay.
Okay, Paul. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So we come back, but we come back to like 7:25.
This conference will now be recorded.
So I'm sharing my screen back. Okay, so I think you can see my screen. Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, thank you. See, okay, so this is a NUTANIX portal. Okay, if you have a partnership, if your organization has a partnership with NUTANIX, then you will be get access to this portal. Very first day, I have shared all this link. Okay, and if you go to this page, you can see. Most of the NUTANIX the kind of pre-sales tools here, the sizer, which helps you to do the proper sizing and like creating a bill of materials. Okay, so all that you do it under this Nutanix sizer. Okay, and all related to the technical marketing tools, all that you can find in the partner portal. And this is for the pre-sales guys. Okay, then we have something called X-ray. This is for the POC. If customer asks you for the POC, so POC generally done it for, done related to the performance side. See, if you have promised some performance and customer wants to see that performance, right? Or I think, or if they have a certain hardware and they wanted to see the performance on that particular hardware. Okay, so those cases, X-ray is the tool. This is again a VM. You can download this tool and set it up as a VM, and from here you can run various performance-related use cases. Okay, some cases after deployment, customer add this as a handover test cases. Okay, so before handing over the infrastructure to the customer, they ask you to run this performance test cases, and then report needs to be shared with them. Okay, so kind of four corner test cases. Four corner in the sense sequential, uh, read and write, random, read and write, then IO short, IO long. Okay, so it's similar way it covers so many use cases or test cases, which helps for the POC. Okay, and then you have something called support portal. Okay, all you can raise your tickets, and then knowledge base article downloads, all that you can find here. Okay, this dot next is a community forum where you can ask your questions and then get it answered by some of the expert. Okay, then you can find many blogs or latest all the latest announcement. Okay, just give me a second, I'll log in this and I'll show you. Okay, okay, so this is the community page. Okay, where all the latest announcement, and if you have any questions, all that you can post it here. Okay, and during last week's session, I told about the community news user group events, right? So this is a user group event from Brisbane, and then there is one from Singapore. Okay, so you can join there and you can attend this. Okay, and every week there is a leaderboard. Okay, so who are got? If you answered a question of if you have answered for a question, there is a point. Okay, so they give you 1 point, and every week there is a leadership. Okay, so I'm sitting at the 5th position. A couple of years back, I was at the first position, then I was into second. But I'm not doing any reason. I mean, recent time I have not done any activities here, so that's why I moved to the 5th point. Okay. But similar way, if you wanted to be this, you can be more active on this forum, and it helps you to learn so many things, because many cases people come up with the different questions, and sometimes you can answer, or sometimes you can if you don't answer, Nutanix support team will answer. Okay, so there is official SRE engineers gets assigned for this particular forum, and if you don't get, if you have no answer, definitely they will give an answer, or if your answer is correct, they will mark your answer as correct. Okay, so it is a good platform. Then Xstripe is a one which I told, right, during getting the collecting the points, then making use of the points to buy some products like iPhone and laptop and all, right. So that you can do it here. Okay, then if you want to do test drive, you can do it, and even it is available in the internet by um, entering Nutanix test drive. You will be directly getting into the test drive. You don't need to create this account; it is just free. Anybody can anybody can create test drive and practice. Okay, no, not necessarily this account required. Nutanix University, this is a place where you can take up training, self-placed training, and then taking up any exams, right? All that you can do it here. Okay, some of the cloud services. Trial, if you want to do to see the trial, you can try it here. And then this is the Nutanix Cloud Cluster NC2. Okay, run the Nutanix cluster on AWS or Azure, right? I told during the first day. If you don't have enough hardware, if you don't have resources to get the lab, then I told you to run this and get the clusters created on the public cloud. Okay, but don't do this now because it has some trial period. After that, you will not be able to create your cluster. So finish this course, then take up this lab. Okay, but now today's session we are actually going to see foundation pre-configure. Okay, so we are going to see how the foundation page looks. Okay, so after once you click, it takes you to this screen. Just click add new. Okay, this is not the foundation screen. Okay, but now this one is the foundation screen. Okay, when you install the foundation, you get this screen. Okay, you have to enter the foundation IP, then enter the port number, then you will be able to get this screen. Okay, so it is it is similar like how you do it in the production. Okay, so you have to select the hardware. Okay, so only this hardware can be supported. Okay, Nutanix, Dell, and up to Fujitsu. Okay, if you don't know, just click auto detect. There is a layout module available in the foundation. Using that, it automatically discovers what is your hardware platform. Okay, uh, these options can be ignored for now because it is always try to keep a simple configuration during the foundation stage, because if you add more complex scenario, it makes the discovery process complex. Okay, first make the process simple, discover the node, create your cluster, then go for the advanced configuration. Okay, because if you go for the VLAN based allocation now, the discovery process itself will be more complicated, because every layer you need to make sure that the VLANs are tagged properly. So keep plain network, don't do any VLAN tagging, go with the plain network and do the discovery process. Okay, so now once you pick up the hardware platform, okay, go with the Nutanix. Okay, then keep as it is remaining option, then come to here. Nutanix secures all hosts and CVMs of the cluster to have a static IP. Okay, we are not supporting DHCP, it should be a static IP. You have to pick a subnet, get the subnet, and then enter the netmask and the gateway IP for particular subnet. Okay, then pick up a different subnet for the IPMA as well. Okay, so same, it can be same or different, but as I told, the best practice would be like keeping the different subnet. So pick up a different subnet. Okay, then you can proceed. This options again, it's an optional. You can just click next. Okay, so this is the page where the discovery happens. Okay, you have imported 0 nodes from the sales rep, but now click here. It asks you what is the number of blocks you have and how many nodes per block. Okay, if you go non-chassis model server or non-block model server, like where individual server, right? You get one box. In that one box, you have one server. Then keep one number of block and one node per block, like this. Okay, or you can keep, if you have three servers, like HP server you take, you get three servers. So three box you get it, individual boxes, and every box you have only one server. It is not four server, right? It is a one server. In this case, you can define that three number of blocks I totally have, and every block I get only one node. Okay, so this is how you have to provide for non-chassis, non-block concept. Okay, but in Nutanix, you take two number of blocks. I have two blocks. In every block, I have four nodes. Okay, click add. Now the table comes here. See, this is the node. This is a block one. This is block two. In a block A, B, C, D, and then in node block two, I also have four nodes. Okay, here the block serial number is optional now, but if you have a Nutanix, if you have a protection setup, you will have a serial number hard coded into the inventory for the JSON file. So it automatically discovers the block serial number here as well as the node serial number here. Okay, so by seeing this, okay, you can say that, okay, on node A position, I have this serial number. Okay, in every node at the back side of the screen, the serial number is tagged. Okay, so easily you can find the position. Okay, if you wanted to know which this if you want physically, if you wanted to know the node, you can go back to the node, and there is a tag available. By looking at the serial number, you can easily find particular node. Okay, so you can say that, I mean, node A, there is a serial number. Okay, but here it is a simulator, it is not actually showing. But in a production, once the discovery happen, it will show all the serial numbers here. Okay, we are not going with any VLAN, and IPMA MAC is an option. I'll come to this later. Okay, so now to provide this IP address, what you can do is range autofill. You can say for IPMA, if you have pick up if this has your subnet. Okay, so go with second IP. Then for host IP, go with okay, it just picks the next IP. Okay, here I have provided three, and then from three it takes three as first IP, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, here I provided 11, and then take 11 as the first IP, then it takes next. Okay, you don't need to go and configure each and every table. Okay, this way you can put up it, and name for host name you can say HV01, then it takes 2, 3, 4, and 8. Okay, so so consider if you format this and all the 8 nodes. Okay, per block you have 4 nodes, so you totally get 8 nodes. So these 8 nodes can be part of one cluster, or what you can do is, I want to remove this 3. I will keep these 3 in a different cluster. Block 1, I use all 4 nodes. From block 2, I take only one node, and this 4 plus 1, 5. I keep it as one cluster, and remaining 3, I keep it in a different cluster. This is also possible. Or you can remove this A also, and you can just use this one block, 4 nodes. Okay, so this is how. So generally what you can do is, you can image all the nodes at once. Consider in your data center, if you have 50 nodes, and that is broken into 5 clusters. So one cluster, you had each cluster you get 10 nodes, so totally you have 5 cluster and 50 nodes. That is your requirement. Okay, so every cluster, if you do imaging it, for an example, for one cluster, if it takes 1 hour, so totally you need 5 hours, right, for 5 clusters to be created. To simple this process, what you can do is, you can discover all your 50 nodes in this one single screen. Okay, because we are not going cluster based subnet, okay, because we pick one subnet for all your cluster. It can have 10 clusters or 15 clusters in your data center. You pick one large subnet for all your clusters, okay. So the IPs will be you provide the range here, and it assigns to all the 50 nodes, okay. Click next, okay. Just skip this option, skip automatic cluster formation, okay. If you just click this option, what it does, it installs the hypervisor, it installs the CVM, okay, and then it does not create the cluster, it does not form the cluster, okay. And then now totally 50 nodes gets image, right? From there you can pick 10 10 10, and then by running the CVM foundation, because the now CVM is already installed, hypervisor is also installed. So CVM, if CVM is not configured, then it will have the foundation service available status, right? So you can pick that CVM and then run the cluster formation command, okay. But I don't want to make complicated now. So what I do is I go back here. Okay, you pick all the nodes. So now overall 8 nodes I have it. 8 nodes going to be part of this cluster. Okay, I'm getting an error because of this host name. Okay. Okay. So, and here you have different options. Add nodes manually. If you click this, okay, if you go with one node and one node per block. Okay, here you can add it. I mean, you don't need to do discovery process. Okay, and then you also get something called add MAC address. Okay, using MAC address and using IPv4 also you can discover the node, but that's not in the simulator. But in a production, you can also do the operation. Okay, so click next. Okay, I have to remove this because I have not provided the IP. Okay, click next. So this is the page where it asks you for the cluster name. Okay, you can say HV lab. Okay, and time zone you can pick. Replication factor, sorry, redundancy factor here, right? There is a difference. There are two factors: redundancy factor and replication factor. I'll come. We can discuss this probably tomorrow. Okay, but for now, we have three. We have 10 nodes, right? Okay, I have provided, okay, 8 nodes. So if I have 8 nodes, can I create RF3? Yes, right? Because minimum requirement is 5. I have two options, RF2 or RF3. I make it simple, go with RF2, then cluster virtual IP. This is optional, I already told you, right? And it has to be in the same subnet, CVM subnet, okay? So it's an option, but it is really recommended to have this IP. NTP and DNS is also optional. If you want, you can configure, but otherwise you can do it later. Okay. This is a page you have to choose AOS, Acropolis Operating System. Okay. Here it is not showing, but even in the production, by default it shows nothing here. There is a drop down page comes here. If you click the drop down, it shows nothing. Okay. And then if you go to hypervisor side, here also it shows nothing, right? But even in a production, there again here you get a drop down menu. The drop down menu shows nothing because you have not uploaded the AOS and hypervisor into foundation. Okay, using WinSCP, you have to use this foundation IP and take a have to open and go to the foundation. There is a folder called ISOS, and then under that you have the hypervisor, and then under that you have the three different folders: one for NUTANIX, one for ESXi, VMware, then another one for Microsoft Hyper-V. Okay, so you have to download this hypervisor from their website and then upload this into the respective folder. Okay, and same for AOS, you have to choose which version of AOS you are going. That needs to be uploaded into the foundation VM. Okay, you are uploading this into foundation VM by taking the WinSCP. Okay, then this drop down comes here, and there you can pick up the right AOS and then right hypervisor there. AO is really required to install the CVM. Hypervisor OS is to install the hypervisor. Okay. Then last stage you get IPMI. Okay. So you have a server. Somebody asks you to install ESXi hypervisor on that OS, right? On the server. Then what you require? You need the IPMI IP, then IPMI username and password. Okay. So same way, foundation is a person. Okay. He is going to install hypervisor. He is going to create a CVM on the certain nodes. To access those nodes, you need username and password. So you have to provide the IPMA username and password. So there are certain default username password available here. If you go with fill with Cisco default, and it will take admin and admin slash for you or something. Admin, I think admin and admin. Okay. So same way, it has a different default password. Okay. If you already change the default user password, then you have to enter the default password here. Okay. So going back, first stage we are picking the hardware platform, entering the subnets and gateway details. Okay, then moving to the discovery process where we are actually discovering all the nodes, blocks, and then we are entering the IPM IP, host IP, and CVM IP. Okay, and then we are proceeding to the next stage where we are creating a cluster and entering the cluster name. Redundancy factor we are actually setting here, and then remaining are optional. Okay, and then if you click next, where you have to pick up AOS, which AOS version you want, and then the second tab we have a hypervisor. You have to take hypervisor, and then last option where you have to enter your username and password. And after this, foundation taking all this. Okay, so you have provided all this information, right? Foundation is a person like has is a field engineer. Okay, so if I am a field engineer, I need all this information. I go to first, what I do, I go and install the hypervisor. That's a basic requirement, right? And then on top of that, I install CVM. Then what I do is, for hypervisor, I have to provide this gateway subnet, and then I have to assign all this IP address. If I do it manually, I follow all this step. But now I have a person called foundation, which who does the automation. Okay, so foundation, what it does, it takes all this information. Okay, and then it takes this AOS and then this hypervisor. Okay, I have uploaded the build, right? Taking all this, it converts this information into a Phoenix image. Okay, what is Phoenix image? Phoenix image has AOS, hypervisor, and related configurations. Okay, but configurations are separate, some binaries you can say, but mostly it has AOS alone or hypervisor alone, or AOS and hypervisor. Okay, I'll come to that later, but for now, take this use case. Okay, this foundation, I have entered all the information. It foundation takes all this information along with AOS and hypervisor build. It creates a ISO file. That ISO file is the name of that ISO file is Phoenix. Okay, that image is Phoenix. Okay, now what the foundation does. Okay, so the manual process. Okay, if somebody asks you to install ESXi hypervisor, what you do, as I mentioned, you take the console of IPMI. So you enter the IPMI IP. Then you take virtual DVD. Okay, where you map the ESXi ISO image, right? Then what you do is boot from CD DVD, then press any key, correct? Press any key, then the installation proceeds, correct? Then after this, you assign IP gateway. Okay, configure the basic vSwitch configuration, then create the CVM, install the CVM. So I see CVM installation. Okay, the CVM installation, and then some basic configuration. Okay, so now I need this ISO. I actually I map this ISO, right? But now I have to do this in an automation way. So foundation creates the ISO. That iOS is Phoenix. Okay, the Phoenix image we say. Okay, it has AOS plus your hypervisor. Okay, this ISO file will be sent to server 1, server 2, server 3. Okay, and it gets mapped. This process now happens. Okay, so map the ISO image, then this server gets rebooted. Once the reboot happens, it boot from CD DVD. Okay, and here the same process, okay. If I have 15 nodes, it creates a 15 copies and sends to 15 nodes. Okay, so now I mean, it does not wait for server 1 to get complete, then comes to server 2. It does not do it that way, because it creates the individual 15 ISO files and send it to this server 1, server 2, server 3, and each server starts its own process side by side. Every server is creating doing all this operation. Okay, so this is called parallelization. How Nutanix handles parallelization, or how Nutanix makes foundation faster this way. If it is manual approach, every server you have to go and do the mapping the ISO file. You have to do mapping, then reboot the server, proski, boot from CD, DVD, all that you have to do it manually. Once you've done it, then you go to server 2, then you go to server 3. But here, Foundation makes this automated. So every server, it just sends the ISO file, and that ISO file gets mapped as a CD, DVD, and then it reboots. Okay, so to install hypervisor, to install CVM, you need some ISO file. That ISO file is Phoenix. Okay, so does that only do this operation? No. Okay, and you see here, I have mapped the ISO file and I rebooted, but then how about rest of the operations? Who is doing this? All that Phoenix does. Okay, you know RAM disk, if you might have heard RAM disk. You know what is RAM disk? Uh, we have a RAM, right? In that RAM disk, the RAM, there will be a disk created. Okay, RAM is it's a volatile memory. It's a temporary memory, right? Once you reboot, all the information will be lost in the RAM, correct? But RAM is the faster than any disk. Okay, RAM is faster than actual hard disk. Okay, but the problem is it is not a permanent memory. Okay, but some cases where you need high performance, some cases some softwares actually creates a RAM disk, where it creates this RAM disk on your RAM. Okay, but once you reboot it, you lost this. Taking advantage of this RAM disk, okay, they create some installer VM, okay, on this RAM disk, which takes care of all this operation. Okay, with help of Phoenix image. Okay, so that's the advantage of Phoenix here. Okay, and then after that, server gets rebooted, all the RAM disk data will be lost, your server will be back to normal state. Okay, see, RAM disk is a disk which created on top of RAM. Okay, and there's some installer VMs will be set it up, which takes care of all this configuration. Once it is done, the server, every configuration, I mean, some cases you need a reboot server, right? It reboots, then RAM disk information will be lost, then your server back to previous state. When it reboots, it finds the hypervisor installed on the disk, and from there it boots and rest all happen. Okay, so I'll show some more additional responsibility of Phoenix VM. Okay, sorry, Phoenix. Okay, okay, task that performed by Phoenix. Okay, configuring the hypervisor settings, virtual switches, and more. Okay, installing the CVM which runs the AOS, installing the hypervisor on a new or replacement node, repairing the CVM. Okay, if you don't have access to CVM and you want to check the data drives health, you will be able to see the drives from the Phoenix shell. Okay, sometimes you might hear a node got stuck into Phoenix stage. Okay, or they ask you to go to Phoenix mode. Okay, so those cases are like kind of some troubleshooting side. And if sometimes you might hear that, hey, my node got stuck into Phoenix mode, then the most simple approach would be like they ask you to reboot the server, but still if sometimes it does not get out of Phoenix shell. Okay, Phoenix is it is a console. Then you have to do some troubleshooting. Okay, uh, okay. Then see here. For configuring hypervisor that is already installed on the boot drive, it is enough to download the minimal Phoenix ISO from the portal and mounting it via the IPMA to configure the host. Okay, I'll explain one by one later. Okay, shut down the node, open the IPMA Java console, mount to the ISO, and power on the node. To install a CVM on a host with a hypervisor already installed. Okay, to install a CVM on a host where you have hypervisor already installed, then you will have to generate a bundle that includes Phoenix ISO with AOS and then mount it via the IPMI. Okay, so see this example. Okay, this example, you already install hypervisor, but CVM is not installed. Only you have a hypervisor, only you have a ESXi or AHV hypervisor. Now you need to install CVM. To install a CVM, you go to NUTANIX website, or if you have another node, from there you can generate Phoenix ISO. Now this ISO only has AOS, not hypervisor, because now you don't need hypervisor. I told there are three types of Phoenix ISO. One ISO has AOS and hypervisor. Another Phoenix has just AOS, and then third one has just a hypervisor. You have to pick which ISO you need. This ISO is different ISOs. Okay, so here in this screen, whatever I talk, right? Here I talk some Phoenix, right? These Phoenix are generated by Foundation. Okay, but some cases we can manually create Phoenix. Why we need to create Phoenix? Because if my node has hypervisor, I want to install CVM alone. Then go and download the Phoenix from Nutanix website, or you can generate a Phoenix ISO. Okay. In another case, if this is a standalone node and you don't have other CVM nodes with AOS, you can generate the bundle by the Foundation VM. Okay, if this is a standalone node, it is not part of any cluster. It is a standalone node, and you don't have other CVM nodes with AOS. Okay, so if you don't have other node with the appropriate system, then you can generate the bundle via Foundation VM. From the Foundation VM itself, you can generate the Phoenix bundle, and then you can attach to that particular node, and then it installs the hypervisor. It installs the CVM. Okay, and adding to this screen, I still have a few more points. Okay, we still have 2 minutes. Okay, okay. See here. Okay, so if a node was IPv6 discovered, then the node is guaranteed to have a CVM. Therefore, in this case, Foundation asks each node CVM to copy the Phoenix binary, which Foundation generated to the node's boot disk. Then Foundation uses the library inside the CVM called grub to change the node's boot order. When the node reboots, it boots off its own boot disk where the new Phoenix now resides. Okay, so the boot order, who will change it and all that I told, right? Earlier RAM disk gets created, and then from there the boot disk needs to change to the M.2, all that, right? So which actually does by Phoenix. Okay, Phoenix is actually a little, I mean, a little more information. It requires, I mean, it is a little bit big topic. I'll try to come up with something by tomorrow, or let me see if I can finish it today. Okay, so Phoenix type, there are totally three Phoenix: generic Phoenix ISO, no AOS, no AOS, of appropriate operating system. Then second one, Phoenix plus hypervisor plus AOS bundle. Then third one is just AOS bundle. Okay, no hypervisor. Okay, you have to pick what you want. Okay, what does Phoenix OS do after it mounts? The first thing it does is talk to the Foundation server soon after it mounts to the target node to download some files, the AOS hypervisor files which you provided in the GUI, and additional Phoenix kernel files. Okay, communication between Phoenix and Foundation occur over the node host network, not on the IPMI. Okay, why do you need that IPMI link local, right? It is for a discovery process. Then mounting this ISO image, that IPMI connectivity you required. Once that ISO is mounted, then everything happening over the node host network, which means that data network. Okay, how exactly does Foundation mount Phoenix in the CVM-based Foundation model? Foundation speaks to the node host via IPv6. I told all we discussed this 4 point. Okay. Okay. So Foundation configures the host to the IPv4 that your customer wants. Okay. In a Foundation screen, okay, if you remember this, we are providing the IPv4 information here. Okay. But this IPMA is optional. See here, because the IPMA is already configured. Okay, IPMA MAC and IPMA IP is optional. Okay, you can pre-configure this IP at the first beginning stage, or you can do it from here. Okay, but if you already have configured, I think I'm going a little fast. Probably I cover this Phoenix alone by tomorrow. If I make it fast, it will be, I think you will be confused. So better I do it this by tomorrow. Phoenix alone, I'll do it tomorrow. So meanwhile, if you have any question, just let me know. Okay, I have, because I still have too much of more slides to talk about Phoenix. I cover this by tomorrow. Okay. Any question? I mean, whatever we discussed. Any question? Let me know if I made it fast. Probably I can, along with Phoenix, I can include us. I mean, if you need anything extra, or if you want me to repeat any particular model, I can repeat by tomorrow. So there's a big silence. Did I make it clear? I mean, whatever so far we discussed. Yes, no. Or you want me to repeat the last half an hour topic by tomorrow?